everyone. Welcome to Bruhan Mumbai Municipal Corporation's Virtual Training Center, and I am Mrs. Nehal Kodambe, your English teacher from VTC. Let's begin with today's session. Welcome to today's session. Today we have our English session, and in today's session we are going to learn one more type of literature. See children, in 9th standard, I am specially talking about this standard which we are going through. So in 9th standard we have handled different types of literature, right? We have learned some poems, some prose passages, some dramas. So they are of different category. There are tragedies, comedies, there are ballads, that is a type of poem. We have learned biographies too. So we have handled different types of literature. In today's session, we are going to add on in this list what we are going to learn today. So let's see. In today's session, we are going to read or learn, or we are going to watch different types of literature, and that is a play. In today's session, we are going to learn or read part first. There are two parts. So in today's session, we are going to learn part first of this play. We are going to watch part first of this play, and in next session, we will be dealing with second part. Now, before starting with this play, I would like to give you some more information about it. So, what is a play? As you know, we all are fond of watching movies, TV serials, different dramas, different plays. So, what is a play? Many among you like to watch a play. When we go to the drama theater and we watch play over there, or sometimes on television also we watch play. So, what is a play? A play is a form of literature written by a playwright. Okay, and it consists of scripted dialogue and is arranged into acts. So there is a playwright who writes a play, and then it is been directed and it is been arranged into the act. Some actors are there and they say or they act on those scripted dialogues. So it is known as a play, rather than we read like a novel or a poem. See, if there is a book or novel or there is a poem, we read it, right? But the play is intended to be read aloud or performed on a stage in front of an audience. So poem or novel, it is only be read, but a play is supposed to be read aloud. It is dialogue should be said or performed on a stage in front of the audience, and that is known as a play. In Marathi we call it natak. Okay, so we are now clear about a play. So today's session we are going to watch and we are going to enjoy a very funny play, and it has name title as a play only. It doesn't have any other title. Okay, so the play which we are going to read or watch, or we are going to see the dramatization of this play, and the title of that play, as I said you, it's only a play, that is a story's title, but basically this play is based on this novel. The name of that novel is Andher Nagri Chaupat Raja. Basically, it is in Hindi and written by Sri Bharatendru Harishchandra. You can see here the writer of this play, and this is very funny and sarcastic play. Okay, sarcasm is there, and this play has been translated in many languages, in Marathi, in Hindi, in English. So it has been translated in many languages, but why it is translated? Because it has a solid content and it does speak on the condition of the king or the condition of the particular administration of that kingdom. Okay, so this is the plot of this play. Now let's begin with the play. So first of all, there is a plot or the preparation of the play. As you know, the play is acted upon the stage. So there is a king's court scene and the court awaits the arrival of the king. King has not yet come. As you know, the king arrives at the last. First of all the courtiers, they come and they wait for the king to arrive. So this is a king's court and the courts await the arrival of the king. And you can see there two guards are standing front right of the stage. So two guards you can see in the picture or on this scene, and now they are chatting to each other. First one says, "Be alert, the king is about to arrive." The second one says, "Who wants to be alert? Life seems like one long sleep in this land. I am at ease all day, though I am a guard." Now, from this very first conversation, you will come to know how's the administration of that king. First one is asking second one to be alert because at any time the king will be there in the court. But the second one is little reluctant about that. He says, "Who wants to be alert? Life seems a long one, very sleep in this land. I am sleeping as if for a long time. And my life is very easy. I am at ease all day. Though I am a guard, no, though I am not at very high position, though I am a guard in this king's court, but my life is very easy over here. I don't bother. I don't want to be alert for this." Now, when the first one hears it, how does it respond? What is his response? Let's see. He says, "How boring. I wonder if some interesting drama will unfold at the court today. It would enliven the atmosphere." Then immediately that second one, he responds, "I would be equally happy if there was none." See how different way they are reacting to this situation of that kingdom. First one is very boring with his life. Second one is little cozy with his life. He is happy in what he has got. But first one is telling how boring. I wonder if some interesting drama will unfold at the court today. Some interesting thing should be happened. Every day the same routine, the same life. I am literally bored with this life. I want something exciting to be happen at least today's court. It would enliven, it will give new life to the atmosphere. It will lively, it will be, the atmosphere will be the enliven with this, some interesting thing will happen in today's court. But the second one, he says, I would be equally happy if there was none. If anything doesn't happen, I will be equally happy with that. I don't expect much more from the life. I am happy with what I have got. And while they are chatting to each other, there enters the disciple looking around. You can see a disciple. He arrives in that scene in the court, and as soon as they notice that someone has entered in the court, the first one says, "Halt, you are a stranger. Give your identity." "Halt, stop there. Who are you? And you are a stranger, you are a new person in our kingdom. Just give your identity, identify yourself, give your introduction. Who are you?" Then when he questions him, how does that disciple answers? He says, "You are right. I am a visitor here, a disciple of the wise sage from the Ghanghor forest which lies to the east of your kingdom." Now that newcomer, he introduces himself. He says, "You are right. I am agree with you. I am a stranger because I am a visitor here." Stranger means new person. "I am a visitor here, a disciple of the wise sage." Sage, guru we call. Okay. So of the wise sage from the Gangor forest, a learned person from the forest who stays in the forest, who lives in the forest, and that forest lies to the east of your kingdom. And from there I have come to visit your kingdom. Then naturally the first guard asks him, what does he ask him? He asks him, "What brings you here?" What brings you here means, why have you come here? For what? For which reason have you come to our kingdom? Then disciple answers, "I have heard amazing stories about this kingdom of Andher Nagari and the great King Chaupat. I am especially impressed by the fact that everything in the market is sold at the same price. No complications." Now he clarifies the motto of his arrival in their kingdom. He says, "I have heard amazing stories, very interesting stories about this kingdom of Andher Nagari." The name of that kingdom is Andher Nagari and the king Chaupat. And I am especially impressed by the fact that everything in the market is sold at the same price. No complications. He says, what I have heard is right. To prove that I have come here, I have heard that everything in the market is sold at the same price. Whatever you buy, you go in market and you buy, you get it at the same price. Even if you buy the vegetable, you buy onions, you buy potatoes, you buy fruits, you buy sweets, everything at the same price. No complications. You people's life is so easy. Whatever you get, you just get it at the same price. So there is no need of keeping the account or no calculations, nothing. Then when first guard listens to his clarification, then what does he answer? "You have heard right. In our land, you can buy the most rich and delectable sweets for the same price as an equal measures of vegetables. Takaser bhaji, takaser khaja. I am quite happy about it. It makes life easy." He says that whatever you have heard is right. In our land, in our kingdom, land means kingdom, you can buy the most rich and delectable sweets for the same price as an equal measures of vegetables. So see, suppose if you go to the market and if you want to buy the vegetables, you will get 50 rupees per kg. But if you want to buy the top quality sweets, we have to pay 1000 rupees for that, right? So that is the difference. But in Andhar Nagari, they get everything at the equal measure or equal prices. So he explains in his language, Takaser Bhaji, Takaser Raja, Andhar Nagari, Chaupat Raja. Takaser Bhaji, Takaser Khaja, Andher Nagari, Chaupat Raja. I'm quite happy about it. It makes life easy. So our life is so easy because whenever we go to the market, we get everything at the same price. So Dispel says, so it should. It would be a good idea to settle in this land. But first I would like to attend the court today and pay my respect to the mighty King Chaupat. He says, oh, I see. It would be a good idea to settle in this land. To settle in this land means to stay here in your kingdom. But first, I would like to attend court today. I want to see how the court's work takes place and pay my respect to the mighty King Chopper. Mighty, strong, strengthy. So I want to pay my respect to your King Chopper. Then after this, while they were chatting to each other, then the second guard, what does he say? Then the second one says, you may stand there with those people who are in a queue. If you want to settle in our kingdom, if you want to attend the court, if you want to pay your respect to our king, you may stand and go there and stand with those people who are in a queue. There are the people who are standing there to attend the court, so you can join them. And by the time they hear that loud voice from backstage, that is the situation. And there comes a courtier announces it. Here comes the most noble, most revered, most gracious, most learned king, Chaupat of this kingdom. So make way for the king. Bow to the royal monarch. So everybody is bowing there. You can see there. So they are showing their respect by their did with their deed, and the king Chopat arrives to that fanfare of the bell, and he places himself on his throne. He sits on, and then he orders, let the court begin. He orders to start with the work of that day. Let the court begin. Then the people who were waiting with their things, with their deeds, with their complaints, they come one by one in front of the king. So he one guard, that is fourth guard messenger, he announces the first complainant, and here you can see here who was the first complainant. He was a thief. And he rushes forward and wails loudly, justice, O most great king, I beg for justice. So you can see here the person, he is basically a thief from that Andher Nagari. So he was the first complainant. He comes in front of the king and he begs for the justice. Justice, O most great king, I beg for justice. And then king asks him, and what is your complaint? King asks him. And what is your complaint? So he puts his complaint in front of the king. He says, in this great land of Andher Nagari, my friend and I have been truly hardworking, honest thieves. All these years we have been true to our profession. And what is our reward? See now, here actually the play begins. Now you can see how the play has begun. In front of king, there comes the thief, and he is the complainant. He is complaining about the kingdom, the way, the situation of that kingdom. He says, in this great land of Andher Nagari, my friend and I have been truly hardworking, honest thieves. Though their profession is of robbery, they are the honest thieves. All these years we have been true to our profession. We have done honestly our profession. What was their profession? To do the robbery. And what is our reward? Last night, with great efforts, we made a hole in the wall of a merchant house when all his family were away. My friend peered through that hole into the house. They were trying to do the robbery in that house, so they made a hole, and his friend, who was actually one more thief, he was trying to peer inside that house through that hole, and when suddenly the wall collapsed, and my friend was instantly killed. I have lost my only friend and partner. O king, it's the merchant's fault for living in a house with such weak walls. Now look here, children, that those thieves, they have gone there in a merchant's house for robbery, and they made a hole in his house, and while getting inside from that hole, the another thief was dead after collapsing of that wall, and this thief is blaming to the merchant. He says because merchant was living in a weak house or weak walls house, my friend has died. Now, how does king reacts on this, or what is his way of justifying this or giving the justice? Let's see. So, the king says, fetch the merchant at once. He orders his guards, go and fetch the merchant at once, a life for life. The merchant must be hanged. See, this is why it is called the Andir Nagari. A life for life. Whose mistake was it? That thief should be punished, right? But here, this Chopat king, he says, no, this is my way of giving the justice, a life for life. That is a simple and easy funda. Go and get that merchant, and that merchant must be hanged. That thief is died because of its weak wall, so he should pay for his life. Go and get that merchant in front of me. So they fetch the merchant, and he is brought in front of the king. Now that merchant says, mercy, O noble king. I had no intentions of killing these skilled professionals. See, purposely I have underlined those words, skilled professionals. It is not my fault that the wall of my house collapsed. My house has been recently built. It is the fault of the bricklayer who carelessly builds such a weak wall. He says, now see here, to save their own life, they are blaming other persons. Okay. He says, mercy, O noble king. I had no intentions of killing this skilled professional. Skilled professional, very clever. They are expert in their work. And what was their work? Robbery. But this is not my fault that wall of my house collapsed. My house has been recently built. This is a new house. I was not staying in an old ruined house. It is newly recently built. But it is the fault of that bricklayer who carelessly built such a weak wall. I have given contract to that bricklayer to build my house, and it is his fault that he has built such a weak wall. Now, you know what the king will be? That is, the king said, as usual, his decision, hasty decision, and wrong decision bring the careless bricklayer immediately. You go and fetch that bricklayer immediately because he is very careless. He must be hanged for this fault. When he listens to the statement of that merchant, he says, this is not fair. It is not his fault. It is actually the fault of that careless bricklayer. Go and get him immediately in front of me, and he must be hanged for this fault. So the complaint has been started with the robber or the thief. Then he blamed for his friend's life to the merchant, and then merchant says, this is not my fault, this is that bricklayer's fault. So now the king orders to get that careless bricklayer in front of him, and the second guard leaves and returns with the bricklayer. Now you can see here, His bricklayer is been brought in front of the king. Now the bricklayer says, he requests to the king, O most kind lord and king, I beg you, don't send me to the gallows. I agree that I built the wall which collapsed and killed a man, but it was not due to my carelessness. The mortar which I used to lay the bricks was of very poor quality. There was too much of water mixed in it. It is entirely the mortar maker's fault. Now, when that bricklayer was brought in front of the king, he clarifies himself. He, he puts himself safe and he is blaming to the some other man. He says, O most and Lord King, I beg your pardon, I beg you, don't send me to the gallows. Gallows hangs. I agree that I built the wall. Okay, I agree. I have done the house building work of that merchant and the wall which collapsed and killed a man. I am agree with this fact, but it was not due to my carelessness. I was not at all careless while doing that work. It is the mortar which I used to lay the bricks was of very poor quality. Mortar means the mixture which was put in between two bricks to fix those bricks. So, and that work is done by some other person. Okay. So there was too much of water mixed in it. There was little sand, little cement and too much of water was mixed in it. And so that wall was become very weak. So it is entirely the mortar maker's fault. Now he blames some other person. So as usual, king summons for the mortar maker and he says, he says, summon the mortar maker at once. Go and get him. He must pay with his life for his thoughtlessness. How thoughtlessness that man has done. How thoughtless that man is. Go and get him. Summon. Send the court's notice and get that mortar maker at once in front of me. He must pay with his life. So his simple justice was alive for the life. So now he believed that it was not at all that bricklayer's fault. The faulty is who? The mortar maker. So he says he must pay with his life for his thoughtlessness. Go and get him. So the first guard goes and returns with the mortar maker. As soon as that mortar maker comes in front of the king, he requests king, forgive me, O merciful king. Please do not hang me to death. I have a wife and two young children. Who will look after them? So he is pleading to the king, forgive me, please, O merciful king. You are so kind. Please do not hang me to death. I have wife and two young children. I have my family with me. They are after my death. Who will look after them? But says, your carelessness has cost a life. You must pay with your life. The king says, no, nothing doing. Even if you have your wife and two young children, I can't help you. Because of your carelessness, one man has cost with his life. He has died. And you must pay with your life. That is the punishment. That is the fine for you. You must pay with your life. Then what does that mortar maker says? We will. He says, no, 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 no. No, my royal lord, I am not to blame. The pot which I used to pour water into the mortar had an extraordinarily large mouth. So excess water poured down into the mortar mixture. I was helpless. It is the potter's fault for making such a useless pot. Now you can see here the story has been started with a thief. The thief blamed a merchant for his friend's death. Merchant blamed a bricklayer for the weak wall. Then that bricklayer blamed the mortar maker for making low quality mortar. And now this mortar maker is blaming to the potter for making useless pot. He says, no, I'm not to blame. The pot which I used to pour water into the mortar had an extraordinarily large mouth. His mouth is too large, and so the excess water was poured down into that mixture. I was helpless. What can I do? Can you believe this? So it is the potter's fault for making such a useless pot. This is not at all my fault, because potter make a useless pot. The more water was put into the mixture, and that mixture was not done properly, and so the wall was weak, and so the wall fell down, and that thief was died. King agrees. Yes, whatever he is telling is there is a truth in his explanation. So the king announces, let the potter be brought here at once. He must be executed for molding such useless pot. He says, yes, he has point in his clarification, in his statement. Let the potter be brought here at once. Go and get that potter in front of me at once, at this moment. He must be executed for molding such a useless pot. Why did he mold such a useless pot? And because of that, more water was put into the mixture, and the mixture was not of the quality, and that wall was weakened, and that poor thief was died under that. So the culprit is the potter. Go and get that potter. And so the guard leaves and re-enters with the potter. So as soon as that potter comes in front of the king, he starts pleading to the king, your Majesty, show mercy to this humble potter. I agree. The pot I made and sold to the mortar maker was a defective one. But I am not guilty. As I was molding the pot, I heard the sweet, delicate tinkling of anklets. It was the moneylender's daughter. She distracted me. Just I was shaping the mouth and it became too wide. Now see, even he has someone to blame. So as soon as he comes in front of the king, he says, your Majesty, show mercy, be kind to me, to this humble potter. I am very humble potter. Show kindness to me. I agree. The pot I made and sold to the mortar maker was a defective one. He knows how defective work he has done. But he says, for that defective one, I am not at all guilty. As I was molding the pot, I heard the sweet, delicate tinkling of anklets. पैंजणाचा आवाज. It was the moneylender's daughter. When I was molding the pot, when I was giving the shape to that pot, I heard some sweet, delicate tinkling of anklets, and which distracted me. And who was that? It was the moneylender's daughter, and she distracted me. Just I was shaping it up the mouth and it became too wide. So I am not the culprit. The actually culprit is the moneylender's daughter. By the time I was shaping up the mouth of the pot, she passed in front of my shop, and I heard the sweet delicate tinkling of her anklets which distracted me, and it has the shaping of that molding, or the shaping of the mouth has become too wide, and so it is not my fault, it is the fault of the moneylender's daughter. Then, as usual, king believe upon his statement and he sends for the moneylender's daughter. He says, bring the moneylender's daughter here. This very instant. This very instant means this moment. She must be sent to the gallows for distracting this poor potter at work. He says, yes, he is right. He is not at all faulty. He is not at all guilty. This is actually the fault of that Monelender's daughter. Go and get her at this moment in front of me. She must be sent to the gallows. She must be hanged for distracting this poor potter as he at work, as he was doing his work of molding the pot mouth. And by the time, why did she pass in front of his shop? Because of that, he was distracted. So she is the culprit. She is the guilty person. So go and get in front of me at this very moment, and she must send to the gallows. And so the guard leaves and they comes in front of the king with Moneylender and his daughter. And Moneylender is very desperate. He in low voice he says, "Oh, just king, spare my daughter." He is very unhappy. She is my only child and to be wedded next Monday. He says, "Oh, just king, spare my daughter. Please leave my daughter. She is my only one child." Only child means she is my only daughter. I have only one child. And she is to be wedded next Monday. Her wedding is there on this coming Monday. So, oh, my merciful king, have pity on us and spare my daughter. Leave my daughter. Because as I have only one child and her marriage is there on next Monday. But when Manilenda's daughter listens her father begging the king, what does she say? She is very clever. She says, "Oh, do not fret, father. Don't fear. The king will not hang me. You most esteemed highness, I rarely step outside the threshold of my home. But as my father said, I am to be married next week and my jewelry is not ready. I had to go to the goldsmith shop to urge him to work faster and hand over my ornaments on time. The potter's shop is on the way. I could not help it. It is all the goldsmith's fault. Had he delivered my ornaments on time, I would not have been forced to go past the potter's shop." So she clears her side now. She says, "Oh father, do not fret, do not worry. King is not going to hang me. He will not hang me." Then, looking at King, she says, "Your most esteemed highness, I rarely step outside the threshold of my home." Means, I rarely go out of my home. I do not go out of my home. But as my father said, I am to be married next week and my jewelry is not ready. My jewelry is not ready, as when the bride, to be bride's jewelry, new jewelry is been given to goldsmith to make. But she says that my jewelry is not ready. So I had to go to goldsmith shop, goldsmith Sonar, to urge him, to request him to work faster and hand over my ornaments on time. So because I'm getting next Monday and still I didn't receive my jewelry, it was with goldsmith. So personally I had to go to request him to work faster and hand over my ornaments on time. So, while going, the potter shop is on the way. I could not help it. What can I do? The way which was going to goldsmith shop was there and the potter shop is lying there. I could not help it. It is all the goldsmith's fault. It is not my fault. If he would have given my ornaments on time, I shouldn't have go out of my home. So it is totally that goldsmith's fault. Had he delivered my ornaments on time, I would have not been forced to go past the potter's shop. If that goldsmith would have given me the ornaments on time, I would be staying at home. So it was not question of passing through this potter's shop. So I am not the culprit. It is totally that goldsmith's mistake. And as usual, the king announces to send for goldsmith. He says, Then send for the goldsmith, and without any delay he must be hanged. So whoever comes in front of the king and whenever they gives the clarification of their behavior, king immediately admits it, agrees with them, and he sends for the next person. So as usual, he summoned for the goldsmith. He said, okay, then send for the goldsmith, and without any delay he must be hanged. So in this way, in today's part 1, we have started the story of this Andirnagari Chopet Raja with the thief, and we have come here up to the moneylender's daughter. So here we have to stop because this story will be continued in the next part. So you keep watching the second part also, you watch this video again, you practice those dialogues, and after watching this video for 2 to 3 times, you make two lists. First of all, first list will be of those adjectives which people use to address the kings. Okay, and the second list will be of king's orders. There are in different ways or in different words king has ordered to summon the people. So you will make two lists. First of all, the adjective which people use to address the kings, and secondly the words which king has used to summon the people. So in this way, I hope you have enjoyed the first part of this play and you will be waiting for the next to come. So the second part to be continued in next session. Keep watching. Till then, bye bye. That's all for today.